did you get the inspiration to buy and develop a farm?
So, hello everybody, Ambu here. So basically this goes back to, because I thought that rather than doing a typical presentation, I'll try to create this as a photo story. So, and obviously all these things, whatever we aspire for, whatever we want to do in life, that has especially some roots when we basically, as a child, when we grow up. So these pictures, what you are seeing on the screen, are from my hometown. So left side is my house, and the right side it is the entrance to our small town in southern Maharashtra. So these memories obviously are etched in my memory, and that is basically that I just wanted to create something like that when I started working. And also there are other fond memories I wanted to share with you all, because that also played an important part in the journey I chose and I embarked upon. So left side, that is the farm where we have cows and bullocks, what you can see from the farm in my hometown. Right side, even though I couldn't collect a picture of myself as a child, so if you see it's my kids Ishan Swara a few years back when we had gone to the hometown. This is Godavari River, so they had a swim in the river, and you can see the farm also on the right bottom. So now this is a recent picture. Actually, last weekend I happened to visit my sister's farm in Maharashtra. So I clicked the picture and I thought I want to ask a question to all of you. Is the picture on the left side looking, the bulls in the left side picture are looking more handsome, or Ishan and his cousin on the right side? It's a beautiful moment I captured. I thought I'll just share that with all of you. Okay. And
think both the bulls and the children need to eat more, man.
No, they're perfect. Both are perfect.
I'm not sure about the bulls. Okay. And that was the obviously initial part of the memories and what basically I wanted to recreate. And second aspect was when I and my wife, we lived in Germany for 4 years in early 2000, 2002, 2006. So the kind of basically whenever we used to visit in the farmers markets there, see that fresh produce, baby spinach and all these exotic vegetables, what you're seeing on the screen. And that charm somehow I think we have lost in the recent past, because obviously one is population and also all these laws, what we are seeing, the debate on the TV channels and everywhere. So this is something which I wanted, that I want to create something like this where I'm able to consume. Obviously, you can go to farmers market and buy it, which is happening to some extent, but I just wanted to create something like this on my own where I'm able to grow these vegetables and consume them. That was another. So this basically then sort of got me thinking that now this is basically and try to create an experience. Of course,
That what was the starting point to develop a farm?
So then basically I inquired in the region, basically where can I find the farmland, discussed with my relatives, the area who had some experience here. So one thing I was told is you look for a piece of land, one thing you need to make sure that you don't buy from the person. Always we should buy the farmland from an investor. So let's start again. So basically then I bought this farmland. I've tried to keep the contours and not try to alter too much of landscape of the area, because on the hilltop I have a view of Tornagad on one side and then I can see Rajgad on the other side. And once I bought this, I did a little bit of JCB work just to basically dig the holes and do plantation and so on. And did the fencing in the beginning, because I think especially in India, the 80% of your possession or your title is if you have possession to the land, and everything else, remaining paperwork is only 20% important. So keeping that in mind,
it's 9 o'clock.
I got the fencing done for the place, and right side is the borewell project, because I thought I will dig a borewell and that should be good enough for me to use as a water source. But since it is at a fairly, so it's fairly at a height, this place. So actually this was not a successful project. Okay, so I didn't get enough water. It's only useful for drinking. So I didn't get enough water to really do the plantation and so on.
So now Ishan will share some experiences around how we went about solving problem of source of water.
So yeah, to develop our farmland and to build a farmhouse, we needed a dependable source of water, and we could have used the river stream which was nearby, but then that would have meant that it would have depended on the local authorities. So we decided to build a farm pond, and in the farm pond, as after we built it, we thought that it would take a huge amount of effort to fill it, but after building it, the monsoons had started, and because of the heavy rains in the monsoons, the farm pond got filled in just 8 days. And so we only had to fill the farm pond in once a year. So if we filled it in February, it would have been used up till the monsoon started. And after the monsoon the rains came, then the pond would get filled up again, and so it would be used till the next year's Feb. So it was not a very effort. It did not use much efforts, and it did not cost us too. And it uh, it is useful for the construction work, and it is also useful for the planting for the plants, and it also has its fun element. So I swimmed in the farm pond, and so yeah.
सही टाइम पे वीडियो पॉज किया आपने हैं?
Yeah. So here, and again, I think the sheet used for this farm pond construction is basically a polyethylene. So it's around 80 to 100 microns. It's a thick polythene sheet, and you need to replace it. It lasts for almost 6 to 7 years, is what I'm told. Now it's 4th year, and so far it's going on.
So Anu, how did you go about choosing what to plant and whether that will grow in the farm?
So once actually the water problem was solved in a way, as we saw, what I started basically doing is we basically got the soil tested. So one of my relatives happens to be in agricultural university. So with his help, I basically tested the soil to check what are the nutrients, all the nitrogen, phosphorus levels in the soil. And what we found is surprising, because this was a barren land which was not cultivated for almost 20-25 years before I bought it. So I was a little skeptical, but the soil nutrients actually were fairly okay. Nothing alarming, nothing good or bad about it. It was on average okay. So basically then what I was told is all the fruits, vegetables, it should be okay to grow there. Of course, there are regional varieties which as we go we will see, which are basically grown much better compared to others. Rice farming is something which is done in the region very well. And in Maharashtra, basically whenever we start basically buying a farmland and then start cultivating something, the first crop we take is basically coriander. So basically dhania seeds is what we plant. So that's considered auspicious. Another reason why during Diwali also, we worship the coriander seeds. So first plant we cropped was coriander seeds. The right side, it's another crop which is basically called as black sesame. In Maharashtra, it is used for making chutneys and so on. Okay, that was our beginning. And then I think next slide. I'm sure some of you may be able to recognize Rohit in this picture. So what we do is it's a sort of a during plantation, it becomes a sort of a group and community activity. So different social groups, what we have in Pune, so we go together. So first few years I have almost 150, 160 trees planted there, which are big trees, which basically need a little bit of labor to really plant them and put fertilizer and all that. So this is the picture from one of those trips. And right side bottom is the pomegranate, the first tree which flowered actually. So this is the picture associated with that.
I'm sure that in the process of developing a farm, there were some obstacles. So can you tell us what were those obstacles?
So I had done the fencing, I told, but in this area actually, since it's a closer to hills and there is a little bit of wildlife around. So this fences, the barbed fence actually was not good enough, especially for things like vegetables and millets and so on. So first couple of years, whenever I used to plant something, and these animals don't come in the day, so there is no way you can protect and keep somebody as a guard and try to protect your farm from that. These animals come in the night. On the left side, there is a barking, it's a variety of barking there called as Ambekar in Maharashtra, and this wild rabbit on the bottom side you can see. So these animals used to come and destroy whatever I used to plant. Big trees used to survive, there was no problem about the trees, but these vegetable patches and millets, whenever they are very small, so these animals used to eat them up and then used to have nothing. Then what I did is I decided that I can't really fence the entire area. What I will do is I'll just pick up a small plot. I think Vijayanand recently showed us his terrace venture of putting fabricated structure and the net. So similar to that with bamboo and a net, I tried to start growing vegetables because this was something useful and we wanted to start consuming them. So I did that, and now actually the entire area where I want to grow millets and which used to have trouble from these animals, I have put a fence which is like a net in addition to the barbed wire fence. And also in this area there are a lot of peacocks. So and thing is, we thought nobody eats chilies, right? I had not heard of any animal who eats green chilies, but peacocks they come to the farm, and when the chilies are very small, that time they come and then eat chilies also. So that was something which I was not aware of. So it took a while, but then I think we were able to find solutions and move ahead.
Yes. So can you tell us about the compost that was used and what was the alternative for pesticides?
So yeah, organic, basically I used compost initially. I bought it from the market, cow dung based fertilizers which you get in the market. They're a little expensive. Then I started procuring them from local neighbors who had cattle. So that comes at a reasonable cost, but still it is a cost. If I have to use that fertilizer for 2.5 acres, it is a fair bit of cost. So then at that time, what happened is my wife, who also is like interested in organic and farming, so she attended a workshop in Pune organized by a sustainable living organization. So these guys promote organic. It's not really in the large scale farming, but it is more about terrace gardening and kitchen gardens. So that person conducts workshops. He takes people through how to basically turn the wet waste what we have in the house, like leftover of vegetables and so on, uncooked vegetables and so on, and then convert that into a compost. So it takes a couple of months for that to turn into a compost. So she went through that workshop. So we used that learning. We tried at home first on a small scale, and then once we had a fair bit of confidence, then we started doing that. So we dug a big pit in the farm, and there farm waste, whatever vegetables and leaves and grass, so that wet and dry grass, as you can see, to form the layers. We mix a little bit of cow urine and cow dung also, which we get it from the nearby farmers. And then we started creating our own compost in addition to some compost I still have to buy. So this is found to be quite useful for us. So that was around compost. And in this same process, actually, I also, because all of these things you learn one thing from the another. So this sustainable living also gave us a contact about an organization called as Brown Leaf. So that's Pune-based non-profit. Because in the month of September, October, there's a lot of societies where there are the trees, basically all these dry leaves fall. And it is always a nuisance for these societies to dispose them off, because corporation will not take it away, and what to do with so much of waste which basically accumulates very often. So this organization connects people who have a problem to dispose these dry leaves and so on to people who want them to create compost. So in the beginning, I used to pick up basically lots of gunny bags of these dry leaves also in my auto farm. And I did that in the beginning, but now since my farm, the trees are grown up, and also I don't have to really collect dry leaves anymore. But that is an interesting concept as well as something which people can use in the cities.
But Ambu, just one question. if, how effective is this compared to the synthetic or non-natural one? Is there any difficulty that you face, or?
I found I don't know about, because see, my whole idea was that this is going to be some sort of a self-sustaining model and not really commercial or yield focused. So definitely there is effect on yield. So if you want to compare, let's say 1 acre of, for example, jowar or wheat farming, how much this will produce against what people, typically farmers, produce using chemical fertilizer, there definitely will be quite a lot of difference in the beginning for sure. I'm yet in the first few years of millet farming, so I don't know. For our own consumption, it seems to be okay. Vegetables and basically these fruit vegetables and leafy vegetables, I have not seen any problem at all actually. It's growing very well and we are able to grow different cycles at regular intervals, and it is found to be quite good from that perspective. This 1,000 square feet of area gives us ample vegetables and fruit throughout the year.
Yeah. Can I add something here? Abu?
Yeah.
Yeah. With this compost, like even I have my kitchen compost, I use it for my vegetable growing. The shelf life of tomatoes which I grow, or the shelf life of all the greens, is much higher because it's naturally made. And the tomatoes which I harvested 2 weeks back, it is still we have 3-4 left, and they have not rotten or anything. So that is my observation. Thanks.
And to avoid the problem associated with insects and so on, of course, it is not a foolproof solution. I think we have some the responses also. People also feel in a similar way. So second thing, what is recommended is Jivamrut. So basically, water mixed with cow dung, besan, the chana dal powder, jaggery, and some soil. So all of this is mixed together, fermented for a couple of weeks in a big barrel, what we do in the farm, and then used with water to spray on the trees and vegetables. That it also supplies nutrients as well as takes care of basic problem associated with pests and insects. In addition to that, I also use neem oil water as a preventive mechanism. And what I'm told, I'm yet to see success with that, is especially for vegetables, if you have water sprays, basically use the shower, because you get different shower to water the plants in the garden and so on, right? So even if you use that just simple water without anything else on a regular basis every day, and if you spray that water, it seems that itself is effective to the extent of 50 to 60% to save from insects and so on. So that is something which I'm yet to see success, but that's what people tell me. So these two things is what we use more often. And whenever we, obviously, since compost it has a cycle, so if I need something to be planted, we always buy the same organic compost from the market, also in the fertilizer shop. There is a fair bit of market around that now.
So can you tell us how many types of plants do you have in your farm and what are they?
So I'll start with the beauties of the farm first. So flowers, what we grow. So in the middle, you see in the glass, that's a champa. I don't know what is the equivalent name in English for that. The chafa, called as chafa in Marathi and champa in Hindi. So there are varieties of champas, the golden one on the bottom left. And so this is some of the flowers we have. We have obviously zinnia is there, marigold. So all these flowers are basically bougainville on the fence, so it looks beautiful near the farmhouse also. We have jaswand or hibiscus, red hibiscus and other colors of hibiscus, and parijatak on the right bottom. So parijatak has, I think we had discussed a few months back, the significance of parijatak and the auspicious. Plus it has medicinal properties as well. So, and in my hometown we used to have a so this is something which we have in the farm. And something noteworthy amongst them is of course the roses. So these are desi variety of roses what we have in the farm. So quite a lot of rose trees. And what we did is we are using these rose petals and we are making gulkand. So mix rose petals, just put them into small petals and add sugar and layer sugar petals in a glass jar, keep them in the sunlight. In a couple of weeks, you have gulkand ready. So, and plus rose syrup and things you can use for cocktails and so on. So that is something which was a successful experiment for us. And veggies, because I think that a offshoot topic today also is about sustainable living. Because if you want to really consume what you grow, so then you need to have variety. And keeping that focus, if you see in the vegetables, we have almost 4 into 3. 12, this is something which we have already tried and we grow. There may be a few more which I might have missed the pictures around them. But all of this we have with success and failure, so multiple cycles. So it has worked out quite well. So broccoli is something which is our recent addition. So peppers and red peppers failed first time, but now I think hopefully the second attempt will be successful. So we try to plant these vegetables in different cycles so that we have every week some of them coming to our kitchen. And in the herbs and
Ambu,
spices,
aloo or pyaj is not there. ये मतलब this is because
yeah, pyaj we have tried and it worked because actually it's a hilly area, no? So since these are the ground, they need a lot of soil actually, layer of soil which should be at least can go deep 1 feet and above. But it comes. So radish we have grown, onions also are coming. Okay, potatoes we tried, but I think it didn't succeed. They were very small. But yeah, that also is one of the.
Potatoes, I'll send you a video. People grow it in even plastic barrels. Comes out really good. I'll send you a video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. And in the spices variety, I think herbs and spices, coriander, pudina, basically mint, bay leaves.
Ambu, would you be able to do all this?
Hmm?
Would you be able to do all this? Were you not living in the farm because of COVID, or how would you manage if you were in the city?
Yeah, so actually, I'll pick up that story also. So what actually we started growing this this actually started becoming successful just before the COVID, but then we used them a lot when we lived there for 1.5 to 2 months. So, and of course that sort of strengthened my resolve to widen the variety and try out more things.
Yeah. But say you were living in the city, you have to hire somebody to take care of it, or it's kind of auto
Yeah,
mode?
so we alternate because we still live in Pune majority of the part of the month. So we have a couple living there with their 6th standard. So they live there in the farm in the servant quarters besides our bungalow, and they take care of the.
Oh, okay.
So these are fruits which we were fortunate enough to consume them during COVID times because the markets nearby didn't have any supplies. So chikus, strawberries was something very recent addition because Mahabaleshwar, as some of you might know, is known for strawberry cultivation. And since this terrain is similar, I planted some 8 to 10 saplings this season, and they actually are doing very well. So otherwise, we have guavas, we have amla, mango. This is the first year of fruiting now, so hopefully this summer we'll have mangoes. Cashews last year we had pomegranate, papaya, and bananas. And cashews, the funny part is last year I tried to do a lot of experimentation of when the cashew apple, I think in the coastal region, Konkan and South Karnataka as well. So there you make a lot of vegetables, curries out of cashew. So I experimented that. Unfortunately, I was not able to experiment around making my own fenny. So I hope that whenever the next season of cashew apples comes, I'll try that as well. Okay, and I think the most important part again is millets. So we have successfully grown ragi, bajra, and rice didn't succeed. Basically, this is the real picture, but actually we couldn't get rice from it. There was some problem in the growth of rice. So these are the millets we are growing. This year we want to plant jawar also and see how it grows. So ragi, what we grew, actually the question about the yield was there. So whatever we cultivated a year and a half back, this year the ragi didn't come, but that ragi itself lasted almost 1.5 years for us. We more or less eat ragi roti or jawar roti every day. It's sufficient enough.
So Anu, can you tell us about constructing a farmhouse and how you thought about sustainable sources?
Sure. So before I go to that, this title is Atmanirbhar Thali. So my wife has given this name to this because this shows that what food we eat actually grows from the like cucumbers, radish. Ambadi is like a leafy vegetable. Gongura is And Nachni Bakri is the ragi roti. So basically all these years when I developed this farm as well as the vegetables and all of that. So what used to happen, I used to go during the day, come back in the evening. We didn't have a place to stay over there. Also, I think I wanted to construct something to live in the farm so we could spend our weekends there. So then I consulted an architect who had experience in constructing farmhouses in a more rustic way and not like a modern living places in the cities. So Konkan region use Konkan as well as I think the Mangalore side. So they use the red bricks. So they are called as Zamba in Marathi. It's the red stones basically. They are almost 9 inch by 11 inches. And each stone weighs 25 to 30 kgs. And it over a period of time, it weathers very well and becomes like a rock solid stone. So it becomes hardens over a period of time. And it looks good from the outside as well as it is climate wise also it is good. In the summer you don't feel heat inside and in the winter you don't feel cold inside. So we had chosen that to construct. So this is the foundation, the Bhumi Pujan of the farmhouse construction. I wasn't in India that time. I was traveling somewhere and that Muhurat was on such a day that I had to travel out. And my son, Ishan, 3.5 years back, I think he did the puja. And so that's how we started this construction. So the architect had an experience around creating farmhouses in the nearby place. And when I started discussing ideas and how do we go about it, so one thing led to another. So if you see in this under construction stage house, so windows and doors, when it came to choices of things like windows, doors, or tiling to be used for the farmhouse, so we tried to stick to the natural stones for tiling. And windows and doors, actually, there was an option to either go with standard aluminum fabricated windows or choose something from the timber market. So timber market, the old timber markets, typically people when they demolish their houses either because of renovation or redevelopment, they sell this in the timber market. So I went around in Pune's timber markets and I was lucky enough to find an old bungalow which was getting demolished. So all my 2 bedrooms of the house and living room, so all windows and doors, it's a teak wood. So I bought it from that timber market, which was in fairly okay shape. So obviously this doesn't look that appealing in the picture, but after doing repairs and coloring, so it looks beautiful and it looks really nice. So we chose that, and for tiling, I used this is the living room picture. So I used Jaisalmer. It's a Rajasthani natural stone. Beautiful color, as you can see, and it basically is again good for this region. It's fairly cool inside the summer. And in the veranda, the courtyard, I used Kadappa. This is the courtyard. So it's a 25 feet height courtyard with polycarbonate sheet on the top for the natural light to pass through.
And how do you go about, Ambu, getting people to do all this and all that? Where do they come from?
Yeah, so the architect was from Pune itself. The person who was supervising this also was in Pune. But what I tried to do is, because I wanted to sort of, all our labor, actually, we try to employ local labor. Okay, technically, you could take people from labor from Pune also in a tempo and get your work done. But I tried to stick to the local laborers in the area who had some experience. So we gave them small piece of work in the beginning, maybe let them do the foundation. And if they were doing that well, then we have given more work to them. So all fabrication, all the construction of I have given contract to the local people from the village, and we have sort of created very well bonding over a period of time. And they have done fairly good job actually. I would say that if it was done by somebody else from Pune, it would have been better. I don't think I can say that. Even the architect also was quite happy with the work they did. And they typically don't get a chance to do work on such a large scale. Typically, they do small houses for the people in the village, or one room or bathroom kind of construction contract. But this one, they got a good source of employment, and the work also was obviously a little longer because their pace is slower than the typical commercial pace of the cities.
That is amazing. But how do you go about trying to approach the village and figuring out if they are good or not? What process is there?
So I inquired around actually about people because because this land I have bought in 2012 or 13. So first few years I used to go there only for this farm related development. And in that process, actually one of my relative, my wife's mama, so he had a farmhouse in that same region. So he did little bit of basically sort of social service. He used to work for Tata Motors. So we did some plantation drives in the nearby villages, basically some health camps for the people in the village. So we had developed that kind of rapport with the local sarpanch and some local, as they say, patils of the town. So through those contacts, actually, we got these people, and then they also worked for us on small things like construction of the retaining wall, for example. And over that period, we basically developed that confidence and trust for each other. Okay. So this is the picture of the completed farmhouse. This is another view in the full moon night.
Love the porch and the courtyard also, the 25 feet courtyard.
Because it rains so much that's the reason we had to extend all the verandas almost 12, 13 feet outside. And despite that, the rain still hits the top of the doors. So I'm still struggling to find some solution around that. So once
Umesh, best part was he named the farmhouse after me.
I know. You get your way no matter what.
So once this is done, so you can see my mother in the picture, and obviously most of you know my father's name, Anant Rao. So I named it after him. And also another thought behind that was Anant also means without an end, like Anant Srinivasan.
I love you too, baby.
As well, huh?
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, and also, so that's how we decided to name this as Anand. And there is a right board of the puja. I think this is during lockdown. We lived there for Gudi Padwa. Family pictures.
So now I will talk about the creative and festive time that we spent at Farmhouse during the lockdown. So as you can see in the picture, we have reused the my mother has reused the Jaisalmer tile that was used in the construction to paint beautiful African ladies on them. And the bottles were also used by doing some art form that me and my mother did called as decoupage. This was all done during the lockdown. We also celebrated festivals like Diwali, Gudi Padwa, as you saw in the previous picture. And we celebrated Diwali at our farmhouse. There is a custom in Maharashtra during Diwali that we built mud forts of Shivaji Maharaj for fun. And as you can see in the picture,
Rangoli.
And the Rangoli also.
Yeah, so this mud fort actually during Diwali's kids typically make it, and they put all these statues of Shivaji, horses, and all that near that. And the best part, I think, obviously, is the attraction is the food, the authentic Maharashtrian cuisine, what we get to it. The family who lives there, actually, they have been working for us almost for 5-6 years, and really well market both veg and non-veg varieties. And also, I think Swara will give some examples of what we did because obviously that 1.5, 2 months in the lockdown were fairly difficult. We had very low supplies in terms of what variety we could get in that village, both in terms of vegetables, groceries, and
we were able to put our creativity into making of food also, and we made homemade pasta and also ravioli from homegrown spinach and homemade cottage cheese.
Ambu, is that the peacock and the rabbit, or?
That's chicken. Unfortunately, I couldn't. Since we had caught a couple of rabbit in the farm, but we couldn't actually dare to really kill them and eat it. They were so cute.
Sajeesh, that's what I was about to say. They were destroying his crop, so he took some goons from Pune to kill to hunt the rabbits down. One of them you saw in the photograph, right? But I have to say, guys, this food is amazing. See, I'm not a hardcore non-vegetarian, but still I enjoyed it, and people in the group who are hardcore non-vegetarian, they really love this food. Ambu, continue.
Yeah. Okay. And we have actually got a couple of tents, so either we put them in the verandas, which are large enough, and also on the terrace. So I'm thinking of creating a small area within the farm itself with some foundation, so we could tent there. So that's a fun experience for the kids when we visit.
Yeah.
And I think, another important aspect of this whole exercise is, first of all, I think the whole process of developing this and construction, I got help from a lot of people, friends, relatives, because for everybody it is a sort of a fun project, right? And it's something people have innate desire, but somehow they can't really make up their minds to get into this kind of venture, because the kind of hard work it requires as well as the money you have to spend, combination of both. But this is basically another way of spreading this joy of creation. So I think all the people in Pune whom we are in touch with, so from college as well as other circles, so we hang out together, we go and stay there, celebrate New Year or celebrate any occasions, and have party and have fun. And because there is a river where you could walk down to, there are small hills where you can hike up to. I'm sure Paru can't go all the way up. He has to stop somewhere in between, giving 1,000 others.
I did, Abu. we ran also on those tracks.
Yeah.
हैरी से पानी डलवाया कि नहीं पौधों में?
हाँ, फिर पानी डलवाया। हम तो मतलब ये है ना, जमींदार है ना, तो सिर्फ बताते लोगों को काम करने के लिए।
हाँ, तो हैरी वो सबसे पीछे खड़ा है, लगता है उसको लाइन में खड़ा के पीछे खड़ा दिया उसको।
हैरी बोलता है 2-3 प्लांट पे किया उसने, प्लांटेशन किया, और उसके बाद बोलता नहीं लेट्स गो हाइक अप द हिल नाउ, और हैरी निकल गया बच्चों को लेके।
So Anu, can you share your thoughts and experiences around contributing back to society?
Yeah, and this whole process, because I think already have covered some of the aspects, that we give work to the people from the local community rather than hiring people who are contractors and so on. So that we did. And also now I think the family who is living there, so we try to take care of, obviously the son of the caretaker is fairly intelligent for the kind of background and education he gets in the small village. So we try to help him appear for competitive exams, give him books, and also we sort of have that commitment that whenever he chooses to any career path for his higher education and so on, so we are going to support him. And any other innovation, any renovation, any work which goes on in the place, we still go back to the same people from that village and give them work. So I think that is the path I have chosen, rather than trying to contribute to charity and different causes through standard organizations. Of course, that is another path as well. But I found this to be much more comfortable for my liking, and I can see that contribution is making people's lives better. So I want to continue doing that. Yeah, I think I'm much of what I wanted to speak. So I think we can discuss whatever you want to know more.
Hey, Ambu, Pradeep here.
Yeah.
So do you have any farm animals that you have kept? Any cows or
Not yet,
goats?
not yet. So I think, yeah.
Okay.
So that is something which I'm hopefully going to
Planning?
do this time. So I
Yeah.
want one cow and then few bakris.
Yeah, I heard like the bakris eat all the weeds. So that's a good strategy. The people
Yeah,
have
but
started it.
they can eat any fruit tree and all those leaves also. So actually, goats you need to be. I may have to do sort of a fenced kind of goat farming because they will eat vegetables as well as other fruit leaves and all, fruit tree leaves and all that also.
Okay.
Yeah, cattle that way is safe because they feed them. But I want to start that because that will help me in the business of compost and all. Because otherwise, I think the milk and all, since we live in the city and we'll visit only on the weekend, that is not really going to be much useful.
Mm-hmm. So have you done any soil testing or anything to have a strategy on how to
Yes.
maximize? Okay.
So I did soil testing. I'm trying to, I think, focus on the yield part because there are some varieties of ground you can sow, and they, I think, grow up. They're like corn and varieties of corn and all that. So they grow up for 50, 60 days, and then you just basically, I don't take any produce out of it, but you basically cut it and again let it create its own compost, and that supposedly increases the yield of the land over a period of time. And also whatever I have interacted with people from my own hometown as well as some other friends I know in Karnataka and all, they say that largely in small places who are away from cities, people still depend on cow dung based fertilizer for 60-70% of their needs and add only 20-30% chemical fertilizer. So it may not be fully organic. So it definitely, I think, should be good enough for my own purpose.
Ambu, Anant here, and this is more for the kids listening. As you guys know, I'm involved in the world of testing, and you are talking about soil testing. I'm in the fuels testing business, and one of my friends is in Maharashtra. He's in the soil testing world. It is just unbelievable information that you get from testing of these soils. And then I can figure out what to grow, what not to grow, when to grow, and use fertilizers to then increase yield or decrease yield, like you were talking about. But that information is very rarely there for the poorest farmers, you know. So if the kids can figure out how to get that kind of information to the farmers and figure out how to give them that data on a regular basis, that is the change. That is what changes the game between a very poor farmer and somebody who now becomes sustainable in their living itself. Big difference. But they don't have access to those tools.
I think they do
Yeah,
have, but
good
it's
point.
not a formal mechanism because especially like I think the small towns like this where I have farmed there, people don't do so much of farming. They just take rice as one crop and don't do anything else. But in my small hometown, what I've seen, the people who are like selling fertilizers, of course they do sometimes to their own gains, but these guys have wealth of agricultural information about which crop will grow and how what fertilizer to use and all that. So that, and also this
but India, man, there is a lot of work going around this area.
Can I pitch in something here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Guru.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I work closely with Krishi Vignan Kendra, which is the last milestone of all the agricultural research which happens. They are the implementing agencies in India. So every district has got a Krishi Vignan Kendra. What we normally do there, or what everybody has to do, is to understand the micronutrients and macronutrients. These two are very important. Like we say, carbon, zinc, manganese, iron, boron, nitrogen, and so many things. So these are basic elements. And each plant or each vegetable or each leafy vegetable or any kind of vegetable requires certain amount of micro and macronutrients composition. So we need to understand that and then balance this out. And Jivamrut does that beauty. It biologically controls all these things, and then it helps in plant setting up. The other natural way of doing things is like, as you heard Ambu speaking, that Ragi, he got very good yield, and the next yield did not come for various reasons. But again, if he sows Ragi, again he'll get very good yield. So soil takes rest, and then it regenerates, and then it springs back. Only thing is we need to have patience and then give it nature its time to bounce back. And more than anything, we should keep growing plants which are having shallow roots. Like they make the soil weak. In the sense, they make the soil very porous in nature, which will allow the micro and macronutrients to percolate, and then that will help in furthering the yield as well. And the disease resistant would automatically come in the plants over a period of time. But this would need at least a decade of effort. Then we can go back and relate to what Vishal Gupta said in Africa. Like whatever you throw, it comes back in bounty. So I think Ambu has to wait for another 3-4 years for a good yield. So good job, Ambu.
And people actually have become quite smart because using these phones and so much of information on YouTube and all. Because in the beginning, the person who works in my farm, he was not really very happy about not using chemical fertilizers and not getting the results and so on. But then when I showed him these videos about organic farming and what he can do to really make this better, because he didn't have a choice because I wanted organic. So that also actually is basically more knowledge. So they are doing that. And so that obviously there has to be much better mechanism to really communicate with these people. But I think slowly, definitely, it is happening.
Ambu, what's the goal? As in, are you planning to take this commercial, make it commercially viable, or at least self-sustaining?
Yeah, I think that also is an important financial sustainability of this venture, because I think the capital cost was something which was, I think, a conscious decision, because rather than buying something in the city as another investment, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartment, so I had decided to put that money into this farm and farmhouse instead, which was fine. But going forward, the amount of money I have salary to the family who lives there, as well as work and things what you need to buy for maintenance as well as for the farm. So what I have decided, again with this Ola, Uber experiences, Airbnb. So what I'm thinking of doing it is more around basically commercial, not like Airbnb that it is available for rent all the time, but at least through word of mouth publicity with friends and families and their extended groups. So our own friends, we go together, that's fine. If they go with their extended groups and extended friends, and people who ever come to know of this, they come and call us because we have a Facebook and Instagram page. So based on that, we are getting inquiries. Last few months have been okay. At least we have 2 weekends where somebody goes and lives there, and that, if it continues, brings in sufficient revenue for me, at least at the moment, to take care of the expenses like salaries and upkeep of the place. So if that experiment continues to be successful, I obviously, since it's 2.5 acres, there is so much of scope for me to build cottages like tree houses or some things using fabricated low-cost structures, and because there is an upside kind of area within the farm, so I can pick up some of that unused area and build something there. Definitely, I want to make it as a sustainable enterprise, so I should be able to equivalent rent what I would have got with obviously luxury of living there and still using the place.
Great stuff, Ambu. Awesome stuff.
Awesome.
So do you regret studying chemical engineering and contributing to the chemicals to the world?
No, I'm
not
glad I heard
contributed to
that he has used polyethylene stuff for the water. I was paying attention. And so it's wherever he was using oil and gas, I was like, check. Chemicals for fertilizer, all good.
Correct.
Are you going to share the survey results, Ambu?
Yeah. So just a second. Questions, responses. I think people definitely, nobody wants, I think, minimalist living. And I am also, in a way, I think, as you must have seen during the talk. So obviously, as a human being, I think, I don't know how many of you follow Sadhguru. I don't follow per se, but whatever I've heard his talks and all. So he also says that people, I think the whole human existence is about being ambitious and having aspirations. So minimalist living definitely is not for, I think, people in our group, and which is a good thing. So, yeah. And you don't have to be minimalist, right? I think everybody can have everything, just that we just need to be conscious about what choices we make and what we are leaving for our next generation. Organic also, I think there is a little bit of apprehensions around that, whether can you really produce everything 100% organic way. And so again, it is, I think, as Vijayanand said, I think we will have to be patient, and at least if we can go from 0% organic to, let's say, 70-80% organic also, and at least if we are conscious about, even if we have to, for example, use some insecticides or pesticides in the worst case scenario for some pest, because all these dragonflies, what is the locust, right? This locust kind of thing. So that I don't think really you can have anything around organic for that. At least I have not seen. So yes, but at least if we are using the chemicals less and insecticides, I think that definitely will help the environment. And idea of ideal weekend. Quite a lot of people, I think, have shown inclination and interest in spend time on the farmhouse with friends. So yeah, I think that's a good thing. So even if it's not your own, at least try to make friends who has a farmhouse, and then contribute to his cause as well as enjoy the place.
Yeah, learn from us.
Yeah.
Learn from us.
Correct.
I think that's a good one, Ambu. Maybe you can introduce some, camps for children or something. You can do it organized that way. You'll get some revenue at the same time. Get people introduced. You'll become popular as well.
Yes. We recently did a yoga sort of experiment there. So again, some group of friends, and we knew one yoga instructor actually, so who wanted to come. So we had taken him, and it was a surreal experience actually, doing yoga in the verandas, in the beautiful fresh air. Predictable is most responses people who do stay at home, cook, sleep, and hobbies, which I think everybody anyways wants to do as often as possible.
Ambu, Vishnu is not able to sort of speak from his system, some issue. So he is writing that, engaging schools for field excursions to educate students in farming is another way that he has seen
Great idea.
Working.
Yeah, that especially I think even in Pune region, so where my kids go to school, and also they typically have these field trips for rice farming. And I think survey we have, I think, is in line with what I think I have covered more or less. And
Awesome.
so who else from Pune who has not visited? I think Amit Jain and all, they have not joined today. Right? So otherwise, people from Pune and Mumbai definitely think it is something which we could. Yeah, Amit is there. Amit Jain, you are there.
Yes, and I would love to, man. This is very, very exciting, and congratulations, man. Beautiful. This is fantastic what you have done.